Greetings, everybody. We're going to deal with CSS sprites today, so go ahead and put your helmet on and let's get going. What is a sprite? A sprite is basically an image that you're going to represent many times over throughout your website or your application. So, for instance, this is one image, and as you can see, it has multiple different images on it. And with CSS, I'm going to reference this image and then draw a map around each one of these images and then name them a different class so then I can identify them independently. How's this done? All right, well, let's get going on how to do that. So on the left here, I've just got the rendering of this HTML that is written over here on the right. And as you can see, I've got something called the data-icon and it equals cherry. Now this is an attribute, a data attribute that ultimately they're all going to be referenced under data icon. So what is data icon going to do? As you can see, this is data icon. It is going to represent all of our items, and I'm going to go ahead and slide it into our style. Notice that Bootstrap and my Bootstrap reference is right here, and then right below it I'm doing my styling so that I can override Bootstrap. Anyway, so what we're doing is identifying everything that has the attribute data icon and letting it know I want to draw a path to this image. Now this image is actually in a different spot for this file, so there we go. I don't want this image to repeat. I do need some padding and a little bit of margin. I want it to represent it as a block element, so therefore I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now, these icons are the 88 and 88, sort of the height and the width. This is going to go ahead and set that up so that it has the right shape. And then, of course, it's going to have a box shadow, so it kind of has this 3D look where it stands out. Okay, now, once we've gotten this prepped up, well, now we know that it has data icon, and we know that it equals cherry. So let's go ahead and swing in and just let it know. If it equals cherry, there's a specific way I want to cut that out. And I want to say that one little corner where the cherry is, that's what this item is going to represent. So, as you can see, I'm just going to go ahead and say if it has data icon equals cherry, which ours does right here, then we shall represent the item that we're looking forward to. So let's take a look, and we'll save that and then refresh this, and there's my cherry. So it will load faster if you just load one image for all these items and then represent it multiple times over. You'll see this throughout all enterprise things when you see like a magnifying glass or typical icons. They're all done with a sprite, just like this. So, all right, well, what can you do with the sprite? And let's just show an example of this. And I'll go ahead and get moving. Here we go. As you can see, I've got basically a slot machine. And let me go ahead and just kind of represent this kind of on the mobile way. Hold on a second. There we go. That's fine too. So it's representing itself as a slot machine. And how does this all work? And how do we have a game out of this? So each one of these has a value, and then we add them all up, how many times were they represented, and we get a total. And it's a slot machine for the most part. It couldn't get easier. It's just on and off, and then you get a different total each time, and it's mindless fun, and there's no skill to it, just like any other slot machine. Okay, so how does this work? This is all going to be done with the functionality here. I went ahead and put a little bit of information so it'll help out as we're basically walking through it. So the function called generate is going to basically get a random number between 0 and the length of however many icons we have. And our list of icons is going to be right here. It's an object. So they have 2 keys, 2 values. There's a title and a value of how much it's worth. And so that is represented in our list. It's just going to go through and say how many of these do we have, and that's where we're going to get our random number from. Now this is going to get called quite a bit. Now, these are our objects and are set to zeros. that we're going to start off with in our balance. And this is going to be, of course, the balance. We had another game that we came in with, and we saved it. We'll just bring the balance from that. Now, get random is going to be called out, and this is where we're going to find all of our numbers. Basically, everything that was randomly picked will be selected in accordance to the index of that array and of that object. So, let's get going on this. When we want to get the total, I'm going to go ahead and hide some of the components so that we don't have a lot of human error, like, hitting the wrong buttons at the wrong time. And then we're also going to go ahead and say, hey, are we playing this? Because if so, if this thing's running, I want to go ahead and get this thing set interval. We want to call that function, and we want to call it 1/10 of every second. That way we can refresh those numbers. And at that point, it'll just keep on running. Now, if status is null, which it does get set to, then at that point, that means that they've stopped and they want to get their total. And so on the else, we're going to go ahead and set everything to 0 and get it ready to go. Everything gets set to 0, as you can see. Now, we're going to run through all the lists. And as you can see through the icon's length, we're going to see, hey, how many times did cherry, lemon, watermelon, how many times did they get hit? And we're going to keep adding those. And not only are we going to add those numbers up, but we're also going to be adding some HTML to coincide with that and explain what happened. And this is going to be a line item list that will just basically build onto a string and then be punched out into the details. And so an unordered list will be represented for everything as you saw. Now, just one more thing about these random. I just want to point out that when you build out these random ones, you generate that new number. We're going to go ahead and push those, and we're going to push those to the icon object and the check and to our check matches over here on the title. But keep in mind, when we're getting those things generated, we're also building our icons right here. And remember where we began. We've got our data icon and then our title. And that alone right there will tell us what image to show and how the size of it and everything. And they just keep building onto the string. And as you can see in the result, this is what it looks like. And every one of these changes at 1/10 of a second. And as you can see, sometimes it's even the same image that it was a second ago. So I hope you enjoyed this.